Thank you, Angela, and thank you, SMR, for providing a platform for us to have this conversation. My name is Sanya from EyeSee, and I will be hosting today's session. I'm delighted to be joined by our partners from Google, Tiphaine, who is the research lead for Southern Europe at Google, and Vania, who is a product marketing manager at Google as well. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Hello. So I'm Tiphaine, working at Google for 8 years and managing a great team of researchers based in Paris and Milano and Madrid, and very, very nice to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Also very happy to be here, and thanks for the invite. I've been managing Google marketing products for Chromebook, Stadia, Pixel, and Influence, and working in the marketing and communication field for more than 30 years. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you both again. And on the other side of the panel, or actually the screen in this case, we have Jean-François Sonder, who is a business development director at EyeSee, and EyeSee's partner, Joris de Bruyne. Hello and welcome.
Hello, Sanya. Very pleased to be with you today and looking forward to having our conversation all together.
Hello, Sanya. Very excited to be here.
So we are filming this in March. It's almost a year to date of the start of the COVID-19 crisis. And I would say that shopping has seen several very radical transformations in the past year. So Tiphaine, what has changed regarding how you conduct research from the beginning of 2020 until today?
So from my perspective, COVID first insight is that this uncertain period massively reinforced market research value, and especially the necessity to get reliable consumer insights to make rapid business decisions. In the case of Google, it was, for instance, the decision to launch or promote helpful products to support both our users and customers moving to digital. Then the question has been very quickly, how do you measure and collect the consumer needs when the new ways of living, like, for instance, working from home with children, obviously impact our bias research quality? I think that all market research teams in the world have been challenged on these questions, and by the way, also challenged their vendors to get the best recommendation. At Google, we had to rethink our H1 research plan and postpone many of the consumer research to summer. And we decided to help our consumers better understand what was top of mind for people during this period. So to do that, we used the best tool and proxy that we had. We came back to basics and regularly exploited the great Google search and Google Trends data across Europe. So we published many articles on consumer needs that we can find on our Think with Google website. And these articles covered 3 key areas: immediate needs formulated by users, new day-to-day realities, and new trends in behavior. So that was the first thing that we did when COVID happened. In France, we also felt glad to be able to test the virtual in-store shopping capability provided by EyeSee. And it has been especially useful because all retailers closed shops. So using EyeSee allowed us to conduct marketing tests on Chromebook as it was initially planned, with no interruption or no breakdown for the feed. Then in the summer, we experienced a slightly back to normal period when the situation improved. And so we started to use traditional methodologies like quantitative or qualitative interviews if safety conditions, for instance, social distance, for instance, were respected for both vendors and users. The new challenge for us has rapidly become how do you make sure that you detect the long-term trends and shopping behaviors that will remain after COVID? And to do that, we started to implement long-term trackers as to identify opportunities to use, for instance, time series or predictive models. We just started to do that, so we're still experimenting and should see the result in a couple of months.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really pushing everyone to test their adaptability, really, in all sorts of industries. So I wanted to ask, since Google is the epitome of innovation and building things and expanding into entirely new fields that no one thought possible, I want to ask, how do you think about research in general? And do you think companies who have digital in their DNA have an easier time adjusting to these new research methods?
So let me first maybe define what is research. So research at Google is a very large name covering many diverse fields. So today I can provide you with my point of view on what I know today, what I'm working on. It's marketing and ads research that we develop for Google. Our mission as researchers is to generate actionable insights that will put the user in their context and especially at the heart of business decisions. And as our users' behaviors have evolved over the past years and have become more and more complex to measure, innovating is definitely key to develop these actionable insights. And then, of course, innovation is a crucial component of our DNA as researchers at Google. We aim to create thought leadership, demonstrate this what-if spirit in any piece of research operated, even in the most traditional ones, like brand trackers, for instance. We think we can create innovation at every step while respecting user privacy, of course. I think it can be about opening new areas of thought, about challenging well-known marketing frameworks, like rethinking the way people are taking their purchase behaviors in this messy middle, thanks to behavioral science, for instance. Or it can be testing new methodologies to improve our operational marketing, like the virtual shopping capability provided by EyeSee. But how do you do that? For us, it's very important to create a space for innovation by partnering and brainstorming with many diverse research companies. It can go from a startup building experimentations to very large and well-known research vendors well-established in many countries. So for us, it's like an interactive process, as we are always happy to also share best practices or new methodologies with our vendors, and like research guidelines, sharing UX requirements, for instance, for mobile questionnaires as to improve research quality. So we love to work with different type of vendors and people because we are convinced that diversity favors the appearance of new ideas and methodologies. So, of course, not all of ideas succeed in the short term because innovation takes time and you can fail, but that's okay. As marketers, it's our call then to decide where to put the cursor of innovation, depending on the nature of the project and if it's short-term or long-term oriented. So that was for the innovation philosophy at Google. What we learned from the COVID is that the marketing research process cannot rely on one methodology only. Researchers now need to combine different sources of data. It can be questionnaires, signals like the Google Trends signals that I just mentioned, or passive measurement to ensure a reliable and flexible measurement of the changing behaviors.
I fully agree. I think the basis of EyeSee is in a combination of methods, and we truly believe that that is something that gives the most predictable results as well. So let's move to the study that brought us together, actually. Vania, I would like to ask you about how you used virtual stores. So how do virtual stores and virtual shopping help you extract smart learnings about multiple elements that are all a part of the in-store purchase experience in a single study?
Yes, first of all, COVID times are questioning our way of doing marketing and business. And in the laptop markets, buyers have changed their behaviors, adapting their purchases to the new habits and usages like work from home, house equipment, digital online journey. And when the stores retailer reopened in France in June, laptop buyers were making quicker purchase decisions. They do not want to spend more time in the shops. So we have launched Chromebook, the new generation of laptops made by Google 2 years ago. And last year, during COVID, we have decided to revamp our tables for September 2020 to be more helpful and understandable for consumers when facing our tables. In this new COVID context, it was crucial to test our tables by online study without compromising results and consumer understanding. So thanks to the EyeSee methodology and study, we extracted smart learnings about visibility, interaction, and product understanding. How? The first step was to recreate an existing laptop area in 3D. We also modelized our different table setup to incorporate them into the 3D store. Everything was reconstructed in details to recreate the full in-store experience, from the table's shape to each laptop and stickers. The second step, we recruited and invited respondents to a 25-minute experience on their own laptop, and thanks to the virtual stores, we were able to follow them during the whole in-store purchase experience. So first, they began with the eye tracking. The respondents were invited to watch the video of the 3D stores and to look anywhere they would look as if they were in the real store. The aim was to measure where they look at, for how long, and in which order to drive conclusion about Chromebook brand visibility. After, we asked them questions to measure spontaneous brand awareness and recall. Then the second phase, click tracking. Respondents are invited to interact with the tables. They were asked to click on anything they found interesting on the tables. As everything has been modelized in 3D, clients could explore each communication element, such as product stickers or even play videos. Clicks were recorded to measure interaction during this experience. At the end, they were exposed again to each communication element and then answer a regular questionnaire on Chromebook and table elements. It allows us to measure the product understandings. At the end, in one single study, we were able to know which table drew the highest brand visibility, the best interaction rate, and finally, if we succeeded in improving our product understanding.
That's really, really impressive and sounds like a very comprehensive study. So I also wanted to take a deep dive into this kind of discrepancy between physical and online environments. So what are some of the benefits of testing retail environments online? And what were the most useful features of virtual stores for you?
Yeah, again, during COVID, we learned to be even more agile, flexible, and to be able to make quicker decisions in such an evolving context. And EyeSee methodology was the most appropriate study for a challenge in many ways. First of all, it is time-saving and cost-effective. We didn't have to build multiple prototypes and to get stores' approval to implement the study. Second, we were able to survey a large sample to get a more consolidated conclusions. Having the same sample for a quantity study in real store would have cost us much more. Finally, in our study case, virtual store gave us the opportunity to compare 3 different tables setups in a perfectly comparable environment. In real stores, many external factors can affect the final results. And eye tracking feature was especially useful, letting us measure consumer unconscious intention and behaviors and compare to their statements.
Thank you very much. This was very, very clear and useful, I think, to our audiences. So, Jean-François, we saw some great examples of how Google used virtual shopping for smart learnings and for boosting in-store impact. Can you tell us more about which other industries are considering using this technique already?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Considering and doing so, what I really see on the rise is really sectors which are related to beauty, premium cosmetics, everything which is about fragrances, skincare, for instance, are definitely industries where the need to really pre-test shopping experience is absolutely essential. Having said that, we need also to acknowledge that within these industries, the levels of maturity are different. So if you consider fast-moving consumer goods, for instance, so absolutely every single planogram, assortment, every single touch point, will it be on shelf, out of shelf, it's absolutely essential today to be sure that it will drive conversion and that it will drive your brand image. When you think about Google, you probably have one of the most mature approach. And I would describe this maturity maybe on two dimensions. First is the will to be early adopter in terms of tech-led insight and also behavioral methods, which is one. And two, which I found personally extremely inspiring and fascinating, was the ability of the team to really focus and to be extremely clear in terms of metrics. So the work we did, for instance, was a lot about product consideration. It was a lot about measuring clearly attentional and emotional engagement. And one of the key points was also to clearly find out among the options which one was the best in terms of improving the understanding of Chromebook's unique selling proposition.
Thanks for the explanation. It's really, it sounds very applicable in so many different sectors and not just FMCG, but also for innovative sectors like this one. But you just mentioned the applications and what were the focuses of the study. So I wanted to ask you, is virtual shopping in this sense a purely tactical tool, or can it be used in innovation as well?
I would say we have both cases. I believe you have also a profile of companies, and I'm thinking a lot about the beer, the spirit industry. For these industries, what really is at stake is the ability to measure engagement on touch point on both on-premise, on-trade, and we are here talking about bars, discos, hotels, on top of everything that we know more conventional about retail experience in stores. So yes, there is a big part of it which is related to execution. But what we've been also experimenting on the past few months is questions which are clearly related to strategy. So you would actually say, why that? How can we explain that? I believe there are two different components here. The first one is obviously investing in retail when you are an actor for cosmetics or luxury is making a brand statement. So everything that you will do in order to pre-test all the different options in order to drive a unique luxury shopping experience will really help you to actually communicate on your values, on your heritage, but absolutely focus also on your differentiation versus your competitors. So from my angle, that would be the first part of this strategic interest. The other component, and I believe you will guess, is revamping boutiques, investing in flagship has a huge impact on your financials. For these companies, they need some time to accrue for 2, 3, 4 years in order to make some amortization. So making sure that you can plan your ROI, you can pre-test options before doing some concrete test and learns in real stores is absolutely essential in order to drive effectiveness and ROI for your investment.
And now that you've mentioned interacting with clients and helping them kind of answer all of their business questions, whatever the stage they're in, can you tell us more about what this experience looks like for them? How much resources does it require on both parts, in the supplier and the client side as well?
I believe here what is really of essence is to be frictionless. So to be very concrete, many clients and many partners would actually be keen in having a control cell, which is the existing retail experience, which is existing shopping experience. So it will typically take us between I would say 36 to 48 hours in order to virtualize that part, which is the control cell. And then we can very easily work from sketches, from design agencies. So it's a mix between having pictures in real stores with different angles, 14, 15, 16 usually are enough. And then working directly on the new creatives, on the new ideas, in order to simulate the exact same experience from a virtual perspective. And that part, depending on the quality you want to reach, would be around 4 or 5 days, for instance, just to give you a number.
Yeah, that sounds like a very light preparation for the clients in a way, I would say. And let's just move to something a bit broader. I'm really curious to learn how you think about this specific point in time. We witnessed so many changes and everything is about change nowadays. But how would you say that this point in time is special for research of retail experiences?
I believe for a company like us, who's active on retail, e-retail, it's true to say that the frontiers between the channels are really evaporating, I would say. So for instance, you have today a wheel for many car makers to think about and to develop some digital showrooms. And in the same time, you also have some opportunities to test brick-and-mortar showrooms through our methods. And another component, which I believe also very interesting, is the digital experience, which is another component. When in real stores, what is also at stake is to have the ability to pre-test, to understand how your videos, how your new services, which are digital, can really impact conversion and can really help to build the brand image you want to reach.
Yeah, it's great to have this type of tech to help you understand all of these new experiences. Thank you very much, Jean-François. Thanks for all your opinions and comments.
Thank you, Sanya.
Okay, and now for the last part of our webinar, we're going to be talking to EyeSee's partner, Joris de Bruyne. Joris, could you please tell us more about 3D stores and virtual shopping? How is technology making this method more and more sought after?
Sure, Sanya. Over recent years, we at EyeSee have been experimenting with a series of possibilities in terms of 3D stores and virtual shopping. And the idea is to always immerse the consumer into a realistic context. The unique component for this study together with Google has been the fact that we have been integrating video content into effectively another video of the merchandise fixtures. And we make our 3D store very agile in terms of setup. And the whole idea is that the experience for the respondents becomes very shoppable. It's important to think pragmatical when we're configuring the study. So we need to always balance the granularity of the environment. For example, some components we develop in 2D with a bit of depth versus some other objects, the one that we typically are studying, we will be fully developing in 3D. Ultimately, we love to understand not only the shopping behavior as mentioned, but whether we can, amongst other, generate any level of emotional response as a trigger into that shopping experience. And that's not only important for a company like Google in technology, but just imagine what that would be like in, for example, luxury and retail for cosmetics, amongst others.
And you just mentioned the respondents being immersed in the context. So why is it important to test things in the appropriate context? And what are some of the unique and specific opportunities and limitations of research like this?
Yeah, at EyeSee, it's all about finding this scalable behavioral set of research methodologies, and it's especially about combining different possibilities and to fuse that with some traditional methods. I would say, first thing is to have the respondent into the right mindset, right? So to enter the store, to go to the aisle, to go to the category, to be exposed to the communications, to be able to maybe explore a bit more in depth, maybe to consider a couple of different products. And effectively what we want to do is simulate this kind of funnel in terms of the retail experience. From a research point of view, we always need to see that we can distinguish the different stimuli, meaning a poster or some table communication, maybe even some video that is on tablets. So all of that we need to take into consideration. And during the exposure of the environment with those different stimuli, well, we use those behavioral techniques. After being exposed to the journey as such, we will typically go to a couple of more traditionally posed questions. Lots of things are changing. So what we do today can obviously change still in 2021. We have a lot of cool things we have been working on from a tech point of view, from a research point of view. So amongst others, in innovation testing and NPD testing, new frontiers will be explored at EyeSee. So stay tuned.
And now that you mentioned new frontiers, there's I really have to stop here and ask you about the relationship between new technology and the cool technology and expert insights. So I think there is still some confusion around which solutions on the market are all AI and which are done with real respondents. And I think there's a need to kind of explain that a bit better.
Yeah. Well, Sanya, that's actually a question that is, I would say, recurring or reoccurring from a lot of clients. So AI obviously can cover a lot of different areas. I would say from EyeSee's point of view today, what we do is we tend to still observe respondents. And I think there it is possible to do that with passive data, to do it with tasks that you submit, for example, in going into this virtual environment. But we are still working with humans that are conducting basically the study. What we want to avoid is to make things too explicit and ask their opinion about everything. It can be complementary. So from an AI point of view, there are techniques that want to avoid this interaction with respondents, right? And that will directly give you an insight into, for example, a heat map without even having that exposed to real people. Now, what we tend to do at EyeSee is to use the AI rather to develop methodologies like eye tracking, like facial coding, and to use then these methodologies to actually observe the real people. So I hope that is a bit clear, but it's a typical kind of question.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said sounds like getting the best of both worlds in some way. And thanks for all this useful explanations. I just wanted to kind of wrap up and ask you if you have any kind of advice for clients and for this year ahead of us.
Well, top of mind, I would say that COVID has been, shaking up things a little bit. So I see within a number of clients their research methodologies that they needed to shift from a typical lab towards bringing things online because things were just not possible. So I would dare to challenge you and say, think out of the box, try something new, explore, and obviously go and work with, remote behavioral insights.
Thanks very much, Joris. Thank you for being with us here today.
Absolutely my pleasure, Sanja.
And thanks to everyone else who tuned in today. I hope you liked our conversation with our partners from Google. We are surely delighted to be able to do this kind of work for them and really push forward the boundaries of virtual research. Thank you very much.